What's going on, everyone? In today's episode, I'm going to give you 5 super simple tips to hopefully change your gardening game. They're tips you probably haven't thought of before that I've used in my garden, and honestly, I can't live without them. So let's go. All right, first tip for you, this is a game changer for me, was getting some of these little tiny 1x1 stakes and throwing them in the corners of my raised beds as hose guards. I can't tell you how often I've been lugging a hose through my garden and it jumps over. You'll see here in this bed as well, it'll jump over and want to ride the top of my raised bed. And then what it ends up doing is it flattens all of my young seedlings, messes up everything. It's super uncool. These things are so unbelievably cheap. You can get a bundle of 50 of them from your hardware store for like $7. Throw them in each bed, chop them down if you don't like them so high. It works so well. I like them high like this. That way I have a lot of freedom to kind of just carry my hose wherever and not worry about it. It could not be more of a lifesaver. Second tip that's been such a game changer for me is a simple board. Oh my goodness, you guys. I take this, it's just long enough that it crosses my raised bed. And this way, it makes planting so much easier if I'm planting out a full row in my raised bed, because what I don't have to do is I don't have to plant here, go any further, and I say, well, shoot, I gotta walk all the way around. All I do, I just plant out my bed like this. Couldn't be simpler. And then when I'm done and I want to move it down, I simply move it down. Not only do I do this when I'm weeding, I do this when I'm planting. It couldn't be simpler to work on your raised bed with this board. Not even to mention, simply, not even if I'm working in my garden, but if I want to get from one side to the next, now I have a bridge that spans my bed so I don't have to walk around each side. It's the simple things, folks. It's the simple things, but if you spend a lot of time in your garden and you're growing with raised beds, especially wooden sided ones like this, I'm telling you, it's so simple. Go to any scrap wood store, like go to Habitat for Humanity, they've got them lying around. Go to your hardware store, ask them for scrap wood laying around. Go to a construction site. I guarantee you someone's got some laying around. Just make sure it's wide enough that you can like walk on it comfortably. Game changer. All right, here's another tip that has saved me so many times, and it has more to do with containers than anything else. But if I've got a pot here, this is just some Shasta daisies, and if I were to put these Shasta daisies in this container, it sometimes is really difficult to kind of pick the right size hole and to, you know, fill it up adequately. So what I will do sometimes is I will put the pot in there first, pack the soil around the sides of that plastic pot, basically make a mold, essentially, right? So we're packing it in. What that's doing is pushing the soil against the sides of the plastic pot. And then all I do is I simply take it, wiggle it, and pull it out. And then all you do is you simply take your plant and you're going to pop it right in the hole. And that way, you never have to guess if the hole is too deep, not deep enough, not big enough. It is so convenient. And I do this, like I said, primarily with containers because it's really hard when you already got this pot all filled up with soil. Then what do you do with the soil and stuff? So that way you only plant exactly what you need. And in theory, you know, if you had multiple plants, you could put multiple in here, fill it up, and once those kind of molds are created, simply pull them out and plant your plants. Couldn't be simpler. The fourth tip, and this one has been an absolute game changer for me, and this is using cardboard to help with difficult to germinate crops like carrots. Carrots don't like to germinate if your soil is too warm, too dry, or too bright. Cardboard makes an awesome, helpful tip, helpful tool, I should say, in the garden to help with those crops. All you do is after you plant your rows of carrots, what you do is you cut some cardboard to size, and then you simply take that cardboard and you put it right in the soil. Now it's super windy, so I'm gonna step on it so it doesn't blow away, but you could weight this down with something like a brick on each corner or a stone or whatever, or even some little spikes if you wanted to spike it down. But basically, as long as this is on the soil, what it's going to do is it's going to keep the soil dark, which is going to help the carrots germinate. It's going to hold soil or hold moisture near the soil, which is going to help the carrots germinate. And then it's also going to help to keep the soil slightly cooler, which is going to help the carrots germinate. And so if you've ever struggled with getting carrots to germinate, it has been single-handedly one of the best tips that I've used myself that I can give you to help the carrots germinate. Now, you don't just leave it on all the time. What you do is you leave it on, and after about 3 to 4 days, you start to check. And how do you check? Well, it's simple. Just lift it up. No sprouts, put it back. Next day, you're gonna come out the next day and you're gonna start to check every single day. After about the 5 to 6 day mark, you're gonna start to check every half a day. So I'm gonna check it around noon. If I don't see sprouts, I'm gonna cover it back up until the next morning, around like 6 or 7 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm gonna check around noon again. If I don't see any sprouts, it goes back. At that point, that way you're not keeping it covered so that they're getting smothered. You don't wanna mulch your seedlings. You wanna encourage them to germinate, right? So these carrot seedlings are so small and so feeble that you don't wanna keep this on all the time. But in the meantime, until they're germinating, it is helping you. You're gonna have such higher germination, you're gonna have much better success, and it's using a resource that you can literally find in recycling bins and dumpsters just about anywhere. All right, the fifth and final tip I can give you is either buying or making a dibler. Now, this is a tool that I would not recommend running around the garden with, unless of course you're being chased by someone that's trying to harm you. But this right here is an incredibly handy tool. This is actually called a dibler. And what it is basically a conical shape, essentially a drill. It's a hand drill that you can simply put into the soil and it will make a hole that is perfect for planting things like onion sets, which we don't personally plant, but you can plant any type of bulb or young seedling that is small enough to fit into about a 1-inch diameter hole. And I'll tell you what, especially if you practice no-till gardening and you want to just minimally disturb the soil, or if you just really want to, go with it and want to be fast, you could not be any faster than planting with a dibler. So I, for the longest time, poo-pooed these. I thought, oh my gosh, who on earth really needs one of these? That's just another garden tool to add to your gardening arsenal. It's something that really seems a little bit unnecessary, but again, you don't have to buy one. You can literally make these from a wooden dowel from the hardware store. You can use a stick, right? You can whittle a stick down. Like, you don't have to go out and buy one. It just has to be conically shaped so it comes to a point and it gets wider and it's got a nice handle on it for you just to go and basically ream out a hole here. And I'll tell you what, again, when it comes to planting, it becomes so handy. We will use this for planting out our onion seedlings in the spring, and it has basically just changed the game of how I plant. It took what would have taken about 45 minutes to plant out our onions. It only takes now maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. It saves so much time. All right, so there you guys go. There are 5 garden tips that have changed the way I garden. I hope that they changed the way you garden. If you did enjoy them, make sure to let me know in the comments box down below which one you liked the most or what you learned. Also, let me know if there's some tips that you know of that I didn't mention. I'd love to know how you're gardening. And I also am always absorbing information like a sponge. Most of what I learn comes from you guys. So I want to thank you all so much for viewing this video, sharing with your friends, and subscribing if you haven't already. So as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider checking this one out. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you so much for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's free. Consider doing that. We upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, rain or shine. And if you need any garden tools, supplies, or seeds, check out MIgardener.com. We got you covered. See you guys in the garden. Bye.